evening, good morning, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I'm glad you're here. Glad you chose to be here. I'm very aware of the fact that you could be doing anything. You could be watching anyone, you could be listening to anyone, but you made the choice to be here. I appreciate that, you know? I just wanted to say that up top. See a couple people already pulled up. Baroness in the cut. Mr. McGee is here. Hello, hello, hello. I'm obsessed with Obsession. I have now seen the movie 7 times. And I plan on creating even more content talking about this movie that I love. Thank you. This is loyalty right here. Is this Obsession a member? For 13 months. That means you got that year badge. That's huge. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Everybody is probably aware at this point of the whole, Alex Myers situation. Terrible Obsession take. Terrible apology video, deleted both of them, made a community post, got ratioed, etc., etc. But I wanted to talk about somebody else that is in the same camp that seems to think that they're making a better case, a better claim, somebody that sees themselves to be a pretty intelligent person, speaks with a lot of authority, and frankly sounds relatively condescending. This isn't going to be one of those situations where I tell you that I am reacting to this fresh. I have watched the video that we are about to watch together 2.5 times, I believe, and I've seen videos with titles like this, but this one's actually not clickbait. It's not clickbait. It's not clickbait. This person is dead ass serious. This YouTube video is titled In Defense of Bear. And it is genuinely a defense of Bear. That's actually what it is. It's like, oh, he didn't even know. You don't even, if you were in his position, you might do the same thing. The magic isn't real. What do you? I just so happen to have watched Obsession enough to know how wrong these takes are. So we're gonna go through them together because I want to. This YouTube channel is called The Barking Years. I know that, I technically speaking have almost double the subscribers of this person, but I don't see this as punching down, okay? This person's talking about Obsession. I'm talking about Obsession. I see us as equals. I mean, my take is superior, but when it comes to, the validity of our feelings about a movie, I see us as, relative. With all that being said, let's get into this video. Before we do, by the way, first things first, like the video. Also, what do we think of the setup? Did I fix it? Is the camera good? Do I look clear? Am I not lit? Am I not lit? I picked this specific cool lighting instead of the warm lighting because I think it makes my teeth look whiter. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's listen to a take.
Obsession follows a group of 20-somethings who are thrown into a tailspin of terror when one of them unwittingly casts a catastrophic
This guy talks slower than me, so we're gonna speed this up a little bit.
love spell. Bear, a sincere but timid young man, is in love with Nikki but lacks the resolve to tell her his feelings. One night, after letting the moment pass in a particularly humiliating fashion, he wishes Geppetto style on a gag gift that he bought at a New Age boutique. Then Nikki
He took a huge L and he decided to, force the situation.
would love him. It does not go well. At the risk of stating the obvious, Obsession is a classic be careful what you wish for fable in the tradition of the monkey's paw or Pet Cemetery, but updated for modern audiences with modern anxieties. It's also good. That's my take. No, seriously, I think
He thinks the movie is good. I can't argue with anything so far.
people should watch it. It's funny, it's creepy, it's disturbing, and most importantly, it's the product of a couple of industry outsiders, Curry Baker and Cooper Tomlinson, performing an end run around the Hollywood establishment and absolutely smashing it out of the park. Reward this kind of thing wherever you find it. But irrespective of its strengths as a film, the most interesting thing about Obsession to me is how it has become a flashpoint for illustrating a certain moment of cultural insanity.
Here we go. So, before we get into the actual take, I want to talk again about something that I mentioned before briefly. As a content creator, every idea, every video, every live stream, it starts with a feeling. And the feeling that preceded the structuring of this video was everybody's going crazy talking about this thing. Now, me personally, as somebody that really enjoyed the movie, my first thought was, oh, I'm going to tell people how good this movie is. Some other people's instinct is to get on the mic and tell you why everybody that's talking about this movie this very specific way, why they're all wrong and crazy. And I think that's a very interesting feeling to have, that to have that be the foundation of the content that you create. This movie has made people insane.
There's so much that is interesting about this movie, but it seems like the majority of the discourse around the film can only focus on one extremely deficient interpretation. Bear is an incel, and the movie is about how nice guys, TM, are actually the worst.
You know what's so interesting? When I finish watching the movie every time, I never had that feeling. I never thought to myself, this is a movie about like how nice guys aren't actually nice, how bad incels are. I don't know about you all. Maybe it's because I'm unk or something. Baby on the way or whatever. I'm turning 30 in a week. I don't use the term incel when I'm like analyzing movies. I don't think that really makes much sense. And ironically, this guy is talking about how there's so many wonderful and interesting things about the movie that should be discussed, but instead everybody's talking about this one thing, and he is also talking about the one thing as well. So I feel like that's worth pointing out.
All interesting discussion has been curtailed in favor of using the film as a sounding board to demonstrate one's adherence to a cult of sexual paranoia by
A cult of sexual paranoia.
hand-wringing about what a villain Bear is. I got a small taste of just how polluted this discourse has become last month when I responded to a tweet calling for unpopular opinions on the film. Let's just say it did unusually well, and I'm not even on a monetized account. Anyway, please don't follow me on Twitter. I am not a dignified person there. This is all ridiculous, and it's time for me to heal the world by giving a better take.
This is it. This is the better take. This is what we've been waiting for.
So let's do that. If a person were to try to guess the plot of the film based only on the way it has been described on social media, they would conclude that Bear, with full knowledge of what he was doing, made a wish that intentionally replaced Nikki's consciousness with a customized sex bot and then spent the remainder of the movie happily humping away while cackling gleefully at the thought of the real Nikki locked away in some hell dimension.
This is what we call a straw man. So the take begins with this guy saying that if you went into this movie only knowing what you heard on social media, you would assume that Bear is this evil incel monster that knew exactly what the wish was going to be and how it was going to work before he even did it, and he's happily humping away at a sex bot, cackling evilly while the real Nikki is trapped away in some dark evil dungeon. This is called a straw man. Nobody actually thinks this. Literally nobody thinks this. So what you do is you take an argument, you take a opinion that people have that you disagree with, and then you severely over-exaggerate it to the point where everybody would say, you're right, that is a ridiculous thing. And then you argue against that point. That is the premise of this video, which is why it is fundamentally flawed. But let's continue.
I guess this is supposed to be the phase of a guy having a great time.
Then he takes a still image from the end of the movie and says sarcastically, this is the face of a guy having a good time. It's literally the end of the movie. This is what they call bad faith. I'm telling you all, I'm showing you an example of somebody making bad arguments. That is the lesson today, gang.
In reality, he spends most of the film not understanding what has happened,
In reality, he spends most of the film not understanding what happened. This is objectively false.
skeptical of Nikki's apparent love for him, and in general, not really knowing the identity of the woman he is with, and trying to figure out how to fix the situation. Which maybe some people can't tell the difference between those two scenarios, but I can. So let's talk about the wish. There are basically two ontologically, I'm sorry that I'm using this word, distinct possibilities about what the wish has done. The first possibility is that it has simply made an alteration to Nikki's personality in kind of the same way that drinking or taking pharmaceuticals can do that. But we don't normally consider that fundamentally altering a person's identity. The other possibility is that Nikki's identity has been replaced by, again, I'm sorry, an ontologically distinct being that is sharing her body.
So, just to be clear, he gives two potential possibilities from Bear's perspective as to what has happened to Nikki. But then he says the first option, it's probably very unlikely that just because you're drinking or just because you're on drugs, it like fundamentally changes your identity, which is true. As somebody that has drank a lot at a point in their life, I know that it just makes me I was about to say a greater version of myself. It just kind of exacerbates like feelings and ideas and things that I would already do, you know? Like if I don't fuck with you sober, like I'm not gonna fuck with you drunk, you know what I mean? I feel like that's a pretty easy thing to understand. But this guy's going to try and sell us a bill of goods as if somebody being on, let's say for example, Molly or MDMA, is going to potentially change fully how they feel about a person to the point where they would be sexually attracted to them when they have never shown any signs of that ever. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the way that drugs work, but you all can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not an expert.
We, the audience, are able to understand pretty quickly that it's option B, but Bear spends almost the entire movie not knowing this and seeming
Bear spends almost the entire movie not knowing this. Wrong.
to think that it's option A. He also has to grapple with the ambiguous moral implications of both scenarios. When he calls the customer service line, the rep even says to him, "It sounds like you have a moral obligation to be there for this person."
I would also like to reiterate something that these people, these people never seem to acknowledge is the fact that when you call the One Wish Willow support line, you do realize that that's confirming the fact that it's a real wish and it worked, right? I feel like nobody really attempts to drive that point home. This is probably not even halfway into the movie. He calls the support line, which means that it's real. At no point during the phone call with the support guy is it implied that the thing didn't happen. Am I tripping? Like, in fact, another thing that I think is kind of important. Yes, he asked to change the wish, which means that he knows that the wish worked, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Another thing that's really important, the guy on the other end of the line says, just because you chose this for her doesn't mean that it's not real. You chose it for her, so it's not her choice. I don't know how much more clear the movie can be about the fact that she is being puppeted into showing affection towards him, but let's give the guys, let's let him cook.
And if he believes in option A, that's true. Add to this the fact that he's told that the only way for him to restore Nikki is to kill himself. And yeah, I'm sorry, this is a little more complicated than deciding if you're going to go back and pay for that candy bar that you accidentally shoplifted from Target. As for my tweet, the case for Bear...
Once again, nobody is pretending as if choosing to take your own life is an easy decision to make. I think that any reasonable person would not expect Bear to be like, the only way to undo the wish is to kill myself. Well, I guess I'm going to go do that right now. Nobody thinks this. Literally nobody thinks this. This video should be under the textbook definition of straw man. We're arguing against things that nobody are claiming.
Bear being a victim is so obvious that I'm going to spend basically no time on it. Some people seem to think that saying Bear is a victim requires believing that Nikki is the villain. I genuinely don't know what to do with this level of stupidity. Nikki is obviously a victim. That's why I use the word also. That's how that works. But Bear and really Nikki too are both victims of whoever is making and distributing the One Wish Willow.
This is probably the only reasonable take that I've heard, you know? If you want to say that Bear is a victim of the efficacy, of the potency of a One Wish Willow, that's fair. It's fair to say Bear did this thing not knowing if it was gonna work. He got more than he bargained for. He wasn't properly informed on how explicitly the wish would come true. Like that's fair, I suppose. If you want to say he's a victim of that, that's fine. But the levels of victimhood are they're so different. This man's still in control of his own life. He still has his own body.
Bear was provided with an object that was capable of doing incredible harm without being given adequate awareness of its capabilities.
Also, he could have read the instructions, but I digress.
As a result, his life is ruined and he dies. Done. The end. No further analysis required.
Hold on.
Bear was provided with an object that was capable of doing incredible harm without being given adequate awareness of its capabilities. As a result, his life is ruined and he dies. Done. The end. No further analysis required.
This is a terrible take. Bear got something that was really dangerous. As a result of it, his life is ruined and he dies. That didn't have to happen. If he would have wished for a chocolate bar, he would have gotten one. And that would have been it. We're acting as if The One Wish Willow by itself is like this nuclear bomb, and he didn't know that if he broke it in half, it was going to destroy the city. So this is, again, just a wrong analysis. He got the One Wish Willow. He didn't know how like evil it would be, how bad it would be. It's like, well, if he would have made a normal wish, compelling somebody to love you is not normal. I don't know if I'm the first person talking about this movie to say that, but like, I think that most people would be like, man, I'd love to pay off my student loans. Man, I'd love a house. I wish I had some money, you know? They might even do something crazy like bring somebody back to life. But would that end their own? No, probably not.
Does this mean that Bear is without fault? No, obviously not, but Bear's primary character defects are cowardice and timidity, not malevolence.
So this is the argument that Bear is not a malevolent person. Okay.
These are what prevent him from approaching Nikki directly and also prevent him from acting decisively in the remainder of the film. But the suggestion that he is a villain is so illiterate, I don't think there's a way some person could come by it.
The suggestion that he's a villain is illiterate. And the idea of somebody coming to that conclusion is just insane. I'm genuinely asking this. At the end of the movie, when Nikki comes back to herself, who do you think that Nikki thinks the villain is? Who do you think Nikki thinks is responsible for what's happened? Do you think that she would characterize Bear as a villain? I feel like she would. She's in the movie.
They were compelled by an insidious brainworm. Let's take the idea that Bear is a rapist. Now, in discussing this,
I just want to prepare you for this. First of all, he's going to be using fake words that don't really properly apply to the situation. This man is about to try and convince us that what Bear did is not sexual assault. And I just wanted to prepare you for what's about to happen. So, buckle up. Yeah. Also, grapist. What the fuck are we doing?
I have to use some euphemisms to get around certain algorithmic filters, so just note that if you hear a word that doesn't make sense, that's what's going on. The first problem with this idea is that Bear's grape lacks intent. When Bear makes his wish, Nikki's personality and consciousness are suppressed by another consciousness that has been created by the wish, in which most people refer to as Wish Nikki. So when he and Wish Nikki have sex, true Nikki's body is being involved without her consent, and there is at least some reason to believe that she may be even conscious of what's happening.
There's some reason to believe that she may be conscious of what's happening. She's just laying there motionless. And I'm almost certain, it's very difficult to find the scene, but I'm almost certain that the girl has a tear coming from her eye. And I feel like that wouldn't be... I feel like Wish Nikki, who loves him more than anyone in the world, probably wouldn't be crying while he's doing something that he enjoys. But, okay, whatever.
Which, yeah, that's really bad. However, Bear does not know this. As far as he is aware, Nikki is Nikki, even if she is acting strangely. He does not.
This is a lie. This is a lie. This is genuinely a lie. Listen to this.
Some reason to believe that she may be even conscious of what's happening, which, yeah, that's really bad. However, Bear does not know this.
Bear does not know this.
As far as he is aware, Nikki is Nikki.
As far as he is aware, Nikki is Nikki? Bear does not think this. He doesn't think this. He doesn't. Do you know what happens in the scene right before he has sex with her? He's like, do you love me more than anyone in the world? And she's like, yeah. And she only feels that way because of the wish. In fact, him saying that Nikki is insane because she cooked a cat. What part of Nikki is Nikki is that? What the fuck is that? Nikki is Nikki. Yeah. Normal Nikki would just pull a cat out of a garbage bag and light candles and surround the cat with it. Nikki is Nikki. I feel like these people didn't watch the movie. I genuinely feel like they didn't watch it. Nikki's Nikki. As far as Bear is concerned, Nikki is just Nikki. She covered the door in tape. All around the door hinges covered in tape. Nikki's Nikki. As far as he's concerned, it's just Nikki being Nikki. We're just purposely omitting things from the movie that show that it's clearly not Nikki. But I'm not gonna crash out. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be chill. I'm just gonna relax. I'm just gonna chill.
Even if she is acting strangely, he does not even suspect that the wish has caused Nikki's attitude to change.
He does not even suspect that and look, he realizes he's making a shit take, then puts this edit in. Correction, it would be better to say that he barely suspects that the wish has done something. So you edited this, and the take is still ass. It's still bad. What do you mean he barely suspects? She literally... He called the One Wish Willow hotline, and they said that he chose it for her. He asked if her love is real, and they said that he chose it for her. And you're like, Bear barely suspects that the wish is making her act this way. They didn't watch the movie. He did watch the movie.
Why would he? That would be crazy. All he knows is that up to this point, she is acting strangely.
Up to this point, she's acting strangely is such a gross misrepresentation of the way this character has been acting. Acting strange is like, I don't know. If I were to stutter far more frequently than I normally do, you know? If I released 9 episodes of Therapy in a row and suddenly none of them had background music, you'd be like, that's strange. If I came on here one day and somebody was like, how's editor Derek? And I was like, who's that? That's strange. She cooked a fucking cat into a sandwich. All he knows is that she's acting strange. I swear on everything I love, it feels like he didn't watch the movie. It's just a little strange.
Wish Nikki spends the entire film crafting semi-plausible explanations for her behavior.
Nikki spins the... all right, I'm actually going to get mad. It didn't occur to me until I was saying these things out loud to an audience just how ridiculous they sound. Listen to this.
Why would he? That would be crazy. All he knows is that up to this point, she is acting strangely, but Wish Nikki spends the entire film...
Wish Nikki spends the entire film...
crafting semi-plausible explanations for her behavior.
Crafting semi-plausible explanations for your behavior. Just because you're saying, like, nicer words, you know? $5 to $10 words doesn't mean that the takes are any less bad. What is a semi-plausible explanation for the cat sandwich, my guy? What is the fucking semi-plausible explanation for bashing a woman's head open with a I don't know. Wish Nikki spends the entire film giving plausible explanations for her actions. Yeah. She didn't even try to explain. She shit herself standing in one spot the entire day. She's giving semi-plausible explanations the entire film. You didn't watch the movie. You literally didn't watch the movie. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like my counter argument to all these arguments are just things that happen in the movie. I don't understand.
And that means that as far as he knows, he is having sex with a consenting partner. Intent is fundamental to any application of moral reasoning, and it is totally absent from this fake and dumb analysis of the morality of this situation. Do these people also believe that Fight Club is a story in which Marla Singer rapes Edward Norton's character a few dozen times before he falls in love with his therapist? The pivotal scene for establishing this is the date where Bear begins to have suspicions that the wish might have...
The date is not where he begins to have suspicions. He begins to have suspicions directly after he makes the wish, and she starts acting crazy, and he says, I've never seen you act like this before, and he looks in the back seat and sees the One Wish Willow. When he begins to have suspicions is him Googling the One Wish Willow and seeing if it's real and it works. Didn't watch the movie. Didn't watch the movie.
Actually come true. This is seen by his probing about the specific wording of the wish.
You love me more than anyone in the world?
He follows this up by asking about her dad, and at this point she begins to throw her fit. In this moment, Bear has a choice. On the one hand, he has his dreams being true. The girl he loves also loves him and wants him. On the other hand, there is this impossible possibility that
It's not an impossible possibility. It's not. It's obviously not, because the entire movie is about it. And I understand the angle that we are trying to take here, that, you know, a real person in real life would have a really hard time believing that the wish came true. Like, I believe that. But if this girl that has never been sexually attracted to me suddenly started enthusiastically doing everything that I wanted physically, then I would be like, this is a wish come true. Oh, wait a second. You know? Like, any reasonable person would actually assume that the behavior might have something to do with the wish that I made. I think we're playing dumb. I don't think that this guy is actually stupid. I think that he is playing dumb to get a takeoff, you know? I think a lot of people that are doing analysis of this movie are just underestimating the fact that maybe people like watched it twice, maybe 3 times, because that's the only explanation for how terrible these takes are.
the wish he made on a gag gift in a moment of frustration actually had supernatural power, and that something he has never seen or heard of happening actually happened. I mean, you'd probably assume that whatever's in this box has reality bending powers too, right? You would, wouldn't you? Go on. Tell me that you believe this. Keep in mind,
I would believe it. I would believe it.
or heard of happening actually happened. I mean, you'd probably assume that whatever's in this box has reality bending powers too, right? You would, wouldn't you? Go on. Tell me.
I'm not trying to be an asshole, because like I'm a God-fearing man myself, you know? Like, I be going to church, I be praying, okay? I believe in stuff I don't see all the time. So if I physically did something and actually asked for it and it literally happened, I'd probably be like, it must have been the thing, you know? What are we talking about? This man doesn't exist on the same planet that we do. He's like, you're telling me you would believe this? Do you know how many religious people there are on the planet, my guy? Like, what are we talking about? He's acting as if, I don't know, maybe Harry Potter doesn't exist in this universe. Like, people aren't aware of the fact that, like, somebody has ever conceived of magic. The concept of faith and hope, or a dream coming true. He's like, you're telling me that you would believe that? Yes, nigga, I am telling you I would believe it. I am, actually. If I was like, man, I wish Margot Robbie loved me, and then she pulls up to my house, I'm gonna be like, fuck, it worked! That would be my first thought. It's really not that hard to believe at all, considering what happens in the film that we watched.
That you'd believe this. Keep in mind that at the end of the movie, when Bear is trying to convince Ian to use his wish to save Nikki, Ian, despite the fact that his best friend is covered in blood and begging him to believe that the wish is real, does not believe him.
I would argue, one, this scene more illustrates that Ian's an asshole than it does that the wish is just unbelievable. Like, he got the complete wrong takeaway from that scene. Now, one could, if you want to say that Curry Barker didn't write that scene particularly well, it's very odd that Ian didn't acknowledge the fact that Bear is covered in blood. That is an honest critique of the movie. But saying Ian wished for $1 billion instead of helping his friend, that's proof that it's an unbelievable thing to think would happen, is so disingenuous, it actually makes me mad. I would believe if it was rage bait if I didn't read the comments.
Because it's crazy. Bear chooses the option that almost everyone would choose.
Bear chooses the option that almost everyone would choose. Then he puts an edit that says he chooses not to pursue an unpleasant and extremely unlikely possibility. If you have to do this many edits in post to try and like drive home the point that you're saying and the take is still bad, maybe just scrap the fucking video. Just scrap it. Pretty much anybody in this position would make this decision. No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. You would make this decision. That's what you're saying. This is the phenomenon that I have discovered when it comes to content like this. When people were initially getting takes off about this movie and they were saying that people's interpretation of this film is really exposing what they would do in a situation like this and how they view themselves as a man and that they see themselves in Bear, I genuinely was one of those guys that are like, y'all are doing too much with this movie. It's not that deep. I see it now. I see it. There are men that, if they were in this situation, would take advantage of it. And they are doing mental gymnastics trying to convince you that plenty of people would. But they actually fucking wouldn't. That, like, they actually really wouldn't. They would not. Most people, if the cat got cooked, would be like, nah, buddy, nah, this wish shit is out of control. You know? It's just bad take after bad take after bad take.
Is it a moral failing? Yes, probably, but it is an
Is it a moral failing? Yes, probably.
extremely normal one. People delude themselves in this way constantly. Anyone who acts like they are immune to this tendency is just doubly delusional. In fact, Bear is remarkably cautious with Wishnicki. He is appropriate to current sexual...
He's remarkably cautious with Wishnicki. You know what would have been remarkably cautious? Do you guys remember, because you watched the movie, do you guys remember at the party when Bear pulled the block? Do you guys remember that? And instead of, I don't know, taking a fucking drink, he reads out loud, kiss the person to your left. Is that remarkably cautious to you? When you know she's out of her fucking mind? Does that... Nobody watched this movie. Did you guys watch the movie? I watched the movie. I feel like I'm the only one at this point. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Moore is hyper concerned with avoiding anything that might even bear the scent of impropriety. When she initially spends the night, he sleeps on the floor and
Oh, what a hero. What a hero. When she initially spends the night, he sleeps on the floor because they were making out and she fucking screamed in his face. And people, this is the second person that has given him credit for not fucking Nikki after she literally freaked out in the middle of hooking up. I changed my mind. I'm mad. I'm tired of people acting as if the real Nikki, if she didn't come through and throw herself off the bed, he would have had sex with her. He was going to do it. The only reason he didn't do it is because she freaked out. Why are we acting like that's not the case? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Am I tripping? He was gonna have sex with her, right? Like he was gonna do it. Like that was gonna happen. He only stopped because she flipped. Why are people acting like that's not the case? Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe, you know what? It's just me. It's probably just me.
is concerned that she might have been on drugs. Later, he is so nervous at the suggestion that he took advantage of her that Wishnicki has to repeatedly say to him that she isn't saying that. She's acting super weird, though. He should know that she's not herself.
Yes. She is acting super weird, and he should know that she's not herself.
Therefore, his decision to have sex with her violates her autonomy. Do you not see the irony in it all? Bear is supposed to be a monster because he violated Nikki's agency or autonomy, but navigating this scenario in a way that these people would find acceptable would require for him to act as if her agency does not exist, as if the things that she manifestly and explicitly desires in those moments are not actually her wants and desires, and that he has a duty to presume that she is not capable of owning those choices. He is tasked with sussing out underlying influences on her choices. And
yes, he is tasked with doing that. Do you know why he's tasked with doing that? Because he made the wish. It's because he made the wish. That's why it's his responsibility. It's so weird to hear somebody that you know probably did well in school, got A's on papers, you know? Like probably has like a good grasp of the English language, but is somehow like fucking fumbling the entire movie. It doesn't make any sense at all. He's like, you all are saying that the burden is on him to assume that just because she's saying these things, she doesn't actually mean it. Yes, that is what we're saying, because he's the one that made the wish. It's not like somebody else made the wish. Here's the thing. Literally, all of these arguments would be valid if Bear wasn't the one that made the wish. Like, I would be totally on board. He literally asked for her behavior to change, and then her behavior changed. And he's like, you expect him to know why her behavior changed? Yes, you fucking Wing Wong. Absolutely, I expect him to know. Of course I do.
Rejecting her advances based on the idea that her judgment is impaired based
It's not her judgment, it's the wish.
on his judgment, demanded to say to himself, Nikki is enthusiastically pursuing sex with me, but there may be something affecting her decisions, and it's my responsibility to protect her from doing something she might regret later.
Correct.
And so to compensate for this deficiency in Nikki's agency, Bear is burdened with super agency.
Oh no, Bear is burdened. Oh god, he's burdened with having to take on the responsibility of taking care of this person whose brain he scrambled. He scrambled her egg. Yeah, it is his burden. Yes, he does have super agency. Yes, it is his responsibility. Why are we saying these things sarcastically as if they're not obvious?
He is made culpable for outcomes which he did not knowingly choose and could not possibly have predicted. Well,
He did not knowingly choose for her to tape his door shut. He did knowingly choose to make her obsessed with him. He chose to continue engaging in the relationship after he confirmed at the dinner that the wish worked. He called the number, and the number people told him that the wish worked. He asked to alter the wish, which means that he knows that the wish worked. He asked to alter it. He asked to change it. So obviously he knows it works because he's trying to make alterations. What the fuck? How do we even know that he owns this shirt? He called the shirt shop and said that he didn't like the shirt and he wants a different one. That nigga has the shirt. I promise you he does. I seen it. I swear.
simultaneously being culpable for not sufficiently auditing the choices of Nikki to determine whether or not they are authentic. Returning to that tweet of mine, the number of people who said something like, Bear made the wish so he's getting his just desserts, was, even to someone with expectations as low as mine, wild. This was the most popular dunk on my post, and can I just say that the idea that Bear was in control of the situation is so fucking stupid.
The idea that he's in control of the situation is stupid. She would have done anything he wanted. So yeah, he is in control of the situation, actually. Like, she loves him more than anything in the world. He could have... Okay. All right. I'm not even gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
That I struggle to comprehend how a person could write the words without descending into animal grunting. Still, lots of people were exactly this stupid. What's so bad about being with me? This line has broken more brains than MK Ultra. The number...
His take on this is going to blow your mind. We're about to talk about the scene in this movie where I've seen the movie 7 times. The first 4 times I watched it in the theater. And this is the point of the movie. The whole, please end my suffering. What's so bad about being with me? Every single time I watched it in the theater, half of the people in the theater literally were like, oh, dude. That's what happens every time. He's about to tell you that all of those people are fucking wrong. They're all wrong.
Of people who cited this thinking that it was a dunk or that it definitively proved Bear is evil has basically destroyed my faith in democracy. Hans Hermann Hoppe couldn't do it, but this tweet did it. So Bear says this during a conversation in which True Nikki is able to speak to him while Wish Nikki sleeps, and she asks him to kill her. Now the timeline here is very important.
The timeline here is very important, gang. Lock in. Thank you for this. I appreciate it. Truly. Nice little break in the action. Spread the bread. I feel my blood pressure rising.
And most people completely fail to understand that basically no time has elapsed since
Basically, no time has elapsed.
Bear's call to the customer service line. Immediately after that call, he walks in on Nikki standing at the door covered in her own filth. And immediately after that, they go to Ian's party. And then immediately after that, they go to the hospital and then to bed. He's only just begun to grasp the reality of the situation when
He's just only begun to grasp the reality of the situation. What he just described, the things that he's just talking about happen, are like half the movie, by the way. He's just begun to really understand the gravity of the situation. She literally is screaming, "It's not me," and trying to kill herself in front of an audience. This is like 75% of the way through the movie. But it's weird because she says it's not me at the party, but she also says it's not me with the cat lunch. So he's had the whole movie, which is, if I'm just being generous, we're going to say at least a week. Are we going to act like we didn't see the montage of them going on dates, hanging out at his place? I guess we're supposed to believe, according to this guy, that all happened in like one fucking afternoon or something. Okay. Sure. Why not?
he has this conversation with True Nikki, and she says it to him as he is on his way out the door to meet Sarah. So let's do a little multiple choice quiz. After asking this
Straw man incoming.
question and hearing Nikki say that she's never been with him, does Bear A, laugh at her and say, well, sucks to suck, I guess? B, continue taking advantage of her with full knowledge of her lack of consent? C, kick a puppy? Or D, none of those things, you complete nutter?
So, I would like to show you these options, these hypothetical options, because they're presented sarcastically, but also as if there aren't any other options. Now, what I would do, if I was just dropped into the exact situation where Bear is walking out of the room and real Nikki says, kill me, I would say, excuse me? And she would say, kill me. And I would say, why? What's happening to you? She's like, just kill me. I'm suffering. I would say, oh my God, I'm going to figure out a way to help you, I mean, I would at least say that, if nothing else. I feel like one of the only things that you shouldn't do in the moment is leave. Acting as if like these are the only reasonable options are insane. The girl wants to die. Laugh at her, continue taking advantage, kick a puppy, that's obviously a joke option, or none of the above, you lunatic. Yeah, nobody would pick any of these. So I don't understand why he's presenting it as if it's, yes, we are speed running logical fallacies. That is the point of the exercise. That is the entire point.
Like, the most that you can say about this comment is that Bear is being very selfish by fixating on his insecurity rather than the more serious concerns of Nikki, but that's it. That's all you've got. If
the worst you could say about him is that he's being selfish. That's the worst you could say. I don't think that's the worst you could say. He's like, the worst you could say in that moment is that he's being selfish and doesn't care about her well-being. That's the worst you could say. Yes, this is gaslighting. I mean, bro's, he's gish galloping gaslighting, because the worst thing you could say is he doesn't care that she's suffering to the point of wanting her life to end. That's probably the worst thing you could say. But he is like, worst case scenario, he's being a bit selfish. The guy's a little inconsiderate. Again, if I didn't watch this guy argue with people in the comments section, I would tell you that this is just rage bait, and I got you. I got you with the rage bait, my derps. Thanks for tuning in, but this is a parody video. It's not a parody video. He actually believes this stuff. The video is called In Defense of Bear. Very easy to find. The ratio on it is insane. And it's just weird because I mean this sincerely. I'm a real person. I've talked to real people, It's very obvious when somebody is like educated, The guy knows how to script. He knows how to write. He knows how to edit. Like, he definitely went to school at some point. Yes, In Defense. Yes, that is the title of the video. Yes, In Defense of Bear. Yes, and it's not ironic. Why are we using these powers for evil? We are using what little intelligence we have, and I'm being very kind here, to try and gaslight people into believing that this fictional character isn't as bad as you're saying they are. Does that seem like a good use of anybody's time? Why is everybody talking about this guy like he's evil? He's really not that evil. That's what we're doing. That is the goal of the video.
If this is your smoking gun for Bear being a villain, then the real smoking gun is the one that should have gone off in your... Okay, I'm gonna stop myself now. None of this is to say that Bear is perfect or even a good guy, but these people are literally missing the point of these kinds of stories. Bear is a flawed character, but he is flawed in very normal ways.
He's flawed in very normal ways. He's flawed. Yeah, he's flawed in like very normal ways. He can't keep getting away.
Can't keep getting away with it.
Very normal ways.
He can't keep getting away with it.
I feel like any normal person's reaction to getting a dead cat sandwich for lunch would probably be to have sex with the person, you know? They have an outburst at dinner. They lie about their dad having cancer. They try to tape your door shut and keep you locked in your home. They shit and vomit all over themselves waiting for you to get home. Any normally flawed person would probably try to continue the relationship. Flawed in normal ways while being in a movie called Obsession, where the point of the movie is that the main character is obsessed with Nikki. That's like one of the biggest parts of the movie. If you had to describe Obsession in a few sentences, you could not do it without saying the main character is terribly obsessed with this girl, Nikki. That's not normal. Why are we acting like these are normal flaws? The way that he feels about Nikki, I don't feel about my wife, the mother of my unborn child. If my cat died and she made him into a sandwich, I would divorce her instantly. I might not even tell her that I'm leaving. I'm not gonna pretend. Sorry. I'm getting mad. I'm not gonna pretend like these are normal flaws. He didn't watch the movie. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and just say that he straight up didn't watch the movie. YouTube views can't be this hard to come by. I get it, you know? If I don't talk about certain shit, YouTube doesn't even tell you that I'm alive. But we don't have to stoop to this. We are better than this. We are better than this. You're allowed to crash out. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any normal person in Bear's situation would probably just continue trying to make it work. She cooked the cat. she cooked the cat, but okay.
He means well, but he's weak-willed and prone to deluding himself.
He means well. We're glazing Bear. We're glazing.
But he is flawed in very normal ways.
What if Margot Robbie cooked your cat, though? We'd have a conversation.
He means well, but he's weak-willed and prone to deluding himself. His greatest fault is that he's willing to accept something that he hasn't earned, Nikki's love. The effect that the wish has is to deceive Bear into thinking that he's gotten what he wanted, when
this is another terrible take, by the way, from somebody that I guess didn't watch this movie, is the conclusion that I'm coming to.
Earned Nikki's love. The effect that the wish has is to deceive Bear into thinking that he's gotten what he wanted, when really the wish is to...
The point of the wish is to convince Bear that he's got what he's wanted?
Love. The effect that the wish has is to deceive Bear into thinking that he's gotten what he wanted.
Kathy, say it with me. She cooked the cat. I mean, that's what I mean, that's like, he doesn't even understand what the wish is doing at this point. He's like, yeah, all Wish Nikki is trying to do is convince him that the thing she's doing, she never even really tries to explain half the terrible shit. Like, I don't understand. And we have to talk about it from the perspective of things that Wish Nikki did, not real Nikki. Because Wish Nikki is the one that's doing like psychotic stuff. Now, there is a really good theory that I've seen where it's like the Wish didn't actually like replace Nikki fully. They're kind of like fighting for her body the whole time. And it's kind of just like this compulsion that real Nikki has to love Bear, and she's kind of like present the entire time, low-key. New member. Welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. I owe you curls. Thank you for joining the channel. It's literally $1. Anybody can join. The idea that the Wish is going out of their way to convince him that he has everything he's ever wanted is insane. I don't believe that. I don't think anybody believes that. She cooked the cat. She taped his door. She shot Ian in the fucking face. What part of that is everything that he ever wanted? She blew his shit smooth off. That's love, baby. Dude, you're not gonna believe this. I got like $1 billion. That's love. That's love right there. Yeah, for sure. That's what the Wish is doing. Trying to deceive him into thinking he has everything that he ever wanted. Absolutely.
When really the Wish is destroying that thing, and the purpose of the story is for him to come to that realization. It takes him a while because when presented with a choice between a desirable lie and the possibility of a painful truth, he chooses the lie. Something which you can see people do every day, everywhere you look. In a lot of ways, the story is a classic tragedy.
Took out his gun.
Except that it doesn't take itself seriously, and the comedic elements are so strong that they dominate the tragic ones. So it's kind of retarded for people to performatively condemn him for not already having the understanding, which is the point of the story. Like, do you get it yet? The conversation around this movie is just a bunch of idiot hyenas high-fiving each other for knowing more than the fake person in the make-believe story.
That's what's happening. If you, similarly to everybody else, came out of the movie thinking, man, that bear guy was kind of bad, you're actually stupid. You're a bunch of laughing hyenas high-fiving each other because you have a simple ass take and your brain is small. That's what he's saying. You're dumb. It's I love an argument that is basically, no, everybody else is wrong. No, you're all stupid. He didn't know. He didn't even know. He really didn't know. You're all wrong. I know that you watched the movie, but you're wrong. I know that you could debunk a lot of my arguments by just saying that she cooked the cat, but no, you're definitely wrong. Okay.
Do these people have any idea how pathetic they are? It also strikes me as odd that at a time when so many people literally cannot shut the fuck up about empathy, so many of those same people are performatively withholding said empathy from a character in a work of make-believe. But here we are. There is something very
People just aren't being empathetic towards Bear at all, frankly. And the fact that you are not showing any empathy, you know, for this rapist is really, it's really quite hypocritical, if we're being totally honest. The guy who literally moments after finding out that his wish worked and she loved him more than anything in the world, immediately took her home to fuck her right after learning that she lied about her dad having cancer and screamed at him in the middle of a restaurant. You guys aren't being empathetic enough towards that guy.
1984, 2 minutes of hate about the whole situation. You can tell these people get off on performatively condemning this fictional character. Anyway, there's not some great way to round this out since...
Here's the thing. I don't get off on performatively condemning this fictional character. I do get off on making fun of these terrible ass videos. This shit's got me feeling like it's trivia night, okay? I mean, I could do this every week for the rest of my life. I love going into detail about a movie that I love while simultaneously showing you why people are dumb. People are making dumb arguments. That's what gets me off. I'm having a great time. I would do this for 9 more hours straight. It's great fun. I'm really having a wonderful time. Every time I do it, 100 people show up and laugh with me. It's really quite nice, frankly. That's That's what gets me going. I don't give a fuck about these fake ass characters in this fictional ass movie. It doesn't matter. What matters is that like you're a real person with real bad takes. That's the shit that's crazy.
Basically, this video is just about people failing at cultural literacy. There are a lot more interesting things that could be said about this movie, and maybe I'll do that in another video.
There are a lot of more interesting things I could say about this movie, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to give you these shit ass takes.
But it is what it is. Somebody needed to say it. The stupidity has been allowed to grow too long and too much, and I'm prepared to be the well actually guy every now and then.
You don't have to. I have this friend that I made in college. That's the end of the video, by the way. It never gets better. He never comes out at the end and says, no, I'm just kidding. Bear was ass the entire movie. That's literally how the video ends. He's like, you know, sometimes you have to be that one hero that lets everybody know that they're wrong. Fucking terrible. I had this friend that I made in college. His name is Garrett. Shout out Garrett. And he told me something that I will never forget. He told it to me way before I started creating content. But he said, people need to normalize not having a take on everything. You should write this down, my derps. This is important. You should normalize not having a take on everything. I do it all the time. People send me things. They post it in Therapy Ideas and Feedback in that channel on our Discord. They post it in the Wing Wong Wednesday channel. They send me tweets. They send me reels. And I think about that quote every day. We have to normalize not feeling like we have to get a takeoff about everything. Everybody's talking about it, so I have to say something. You actually don't. You really don't. Have you noticed just how many episodes I've made about Israel and Palestine on the Therapy YouTube channel? I know what's happening. I'm not gonna pretend like I know what the fuck is going on. Why would I do that? I don't have to. You don't have to do this. You don't have to make videos talking about how the rapist actually wasn't that bad. He really didn't know. You don't have to do this content. You could literally do anything. That's the beauty of YouTube. I know that when I tell like very obscure stories from my childhood or college days that it's probably gonna get like 400 views on YouTube. I know that, but I can do it anyways because like I want to, and I think it's like it's fun. It's like a fun outlet for me, you know? I don't have to make shit content like this, you know? You don't have to do it. This is even better. You can also have a take and not be public about it. Everybody thinks that they have to have a take about everything and it has to be public. So is Bear a bad person before he knew without a doubt, or even up to when he first speculated it? Here's what I think. I made this analogy in the episode that I put out, and I think that it kind of works the same here. I feel the same way about Bear that I feel about Walter White, you know? Walter White had this monster in him, but he never actually was able to get it out because he didn't have the resources or the actual excuse, right? So let me just flesh out this take really quickly. For those of you that aren't aware, Breaking Bad is about a guy, teacher, finds out that he has cancer, and then he starts cooking meth to make money, right? Now, Walter White ends up going on to kill a bunch of people, get a bunch of money, be a ruthless person that lets a chick OD when all he has to do is just turn her over, right? He might have always had that in him. He might have always had that monster in him, but he might not have ever let it out if he didn't have the excuse of, well, I'm gonna die soon anyways, you know? I have cancer, I'm not gonna be here that long. So I might as well, if somebody's pissing me off, you can tell very early on in Breaking Bad when his kid is getting made fun of in the store, he spins the block and literally kicks a dude's knee out from behind. That was before he even started cooking. He was like that. So I say all of this to say, Bear did have this shit in him. He is capable of that. And there are probably many men out there, unfortunately, that are also capable of being the type of person that Bear is, but their wishes don't come true. And I know that's like a scary idea, and I don't know if this is like fucking woke or feminist or whatever. I think it's common sense. People have the capacity to be really quite shitty. They just don't have the means to. They don't have the resources to. There are plenty of people that would love to be bullies, but they're too small. It's really as simple as that. I can't play in the NBA, but if I was a foot taller, I would certainly try. It's really that simple. You know? You probably met somebody like Bear, and there's no reason to believe that they would ever take advantage of a girl. But when they have made a wish, and that girl would allow it to happen, her body would enable it, and nobody's around to witness it, then maybe they would be that kind of person. We just don't fucking know. I think that's kind of the beauty of the movie, and the fact that this person created an entire video trying to explain to you why that's actually not the case is insane to me. And that's why I think that every time I see a video like this, I will go live and I will tell you about why it's stupid. Because the beauty of the movie is the fact that Bear, he's the bear. he is the bear. Not like Carmen Berzotto, you know, but the naming of Bear is a cheeky nod to the whole, would you rather be a woman alone in the forest with a random man or a bear? The point is, he's a scary fucking guy. Scary as a bear, you know? Anyways, yeah. I say all this to say Walter White was bad all of Breaking Bad. Granted, Vince Gilligan did say, like, in his original pitch of the show, that was, he was like, I want to turn, like, I want to show the transformation of, like, Mr. Rogers or Mr. Chips or whatever into Scarface. And a lot of people take that and say, oh, that's proof that he wasn't always bad. No. Vince Gilligan said that he wanted to show you the transformation. He didn't say that Scarface wasn't always there underneath. Walter White, ever since he felt like he got shafted on that gray matter deal where he sold out, he's been pissed and angry and had that monster brewing in him ever since then. But then he found out he could cook meth. He found out he was the GOAT of that shit. And he was like, I'm gonna get it by any means necessary. Anyways, Editor Derek, clip that Breaking Bad take because I've been trying to get that off for a while and I've never had a reason to. Shout out my editor. He runs the second channel. It's called Derepy Apps Live. It has 3,000 subscribers. You can actually join that channel too now. It just launched memberships. Now, before we get out of here, I want to show you all proof that this isn't actually rage bait, because I know a lot of you are probably still sitting here thinking like, this guy wasn't serious, was he? Yes, he was. First of all, the video has 472 likes and 1,200 comments. This means that it's bad. Here's a pinned comment full of cope. Hello, friends and haters. Looks like this one is attracting a little attention, so I'll just say that the vid is actually an abbreviated take from a longer essay that I put on Substack. I knew he was an essay writer, which I examined the larger socio-cultural context for obsession and why I think that so many people's brains have been broken by it. Check it out if you want to see the more developed and interesting take. Yes, this is a shameless plug. No, I'm not clicking on that shit. Now, I'm pretty sure there is a, yeah. Here's a reply of his where he says, yeah, I think Wish Nikki's journey is pretty poignant. It's kind of crazy how people just take it as a matter of course that she should die, like she's a thinking, feeling being. True Nikki probably take priority, but I don't think it can be so flippant about the possibility of killing her. Interesting. That seemed relatively thoughtful. Don't know what to tell you, bro. Neither of you are able to understand how words work when you combine them into sentences, let alone paragraphs. Very, very nice way to communicate with your community. This is in reply to another YouTuber said you were defending SA in this video and twisting everything around in this movie to justify Bear's horrible actions. And indeed, he was not wrong. How disgusting. And his response to that, instead of saying, you know, after reading a couple of comments, I can see why people think it comes off that way. You are not, I think it's arguably worse than defending assault because you're actually trying to convince people that it didn't even happen, which is somehow crazier. Like, it's one thing to downplay it. It's another thing to do what he did in this video, which is basically be like, rape, where? What? That's fucking nuts. Anyways, it's my responsibility to say this because, you know, it's the right thing to do. Don't go harass this person and be like, Derepy said you suck. Even though I believe that, you know, don't bother them. Just, you know, if you leave feedback about the video. You should go watch the video yourself if you care to. I'm disliking it because that's my responsibility as a consumer. But yeah, that's all I have for this particular stream. I would actually like to do a future episode where I talk about, you know, a different part of the movie entirely, about how like Ian is the worst person ever, maybe. Like literally at every single point in the movie, he's showing you that like he's like a dick. He, the entire time, almost the entire time in the movie, knew that he had been getting it on with Nikki and was just never going to tell Bear. He was literally never going to tell him. Bear literally pulled up on him covered in blood, and he's like, oh, is that what this is about? Dude, I was going to tell you. Ian fucking sucks. Which makes sense because he's a billionaire. That's all I have for you all today. Expect more Obsession content coming soon. Eventually, I'm going to release this Kendrick video where I talk about my favorite songs. Eventually, I'm going to release the Worst Chance the Rapper bars video as well. I also plan on doing a episode or maybe a live stream where I talk about what the original script of Obsession was like. Real crazy shit in there. Real crazy shit. And the original script actually makes it way more obvious that Bear is like an evil fuck. Like he's a terrible guy. And it also makes Wish Nikki it makes her even more scary. But yeah, thanks for pulling up. Appreciate you. If you haven't already for some reason, like the video. If you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a member. It's literally $1. Love you, mean it. Spread the bread. Enjoy the outro. This is a song that was made about me, I guess. Goodbye.